This is FYI on Your TV, brought to you by Hometown News. I'm Kathy Botham. I have got Jane Paul back with me. You're the Parent Education Coordinator with Early On. Thanks for joining us again.
Oh, thanks for having us back.
Now you've got so much training going on. I see your Facebook page, and I just love looking at. You've got training going on. You always put nice little things going on. What's going on? Make people smile and laugh about raising children and everything. But you do have some training going on, specifically a Zoom, and it's called Triple P.
Yeah, I think first of all, humor. I think if you don't have humor when you're parenting, you're in big trouble to start with because you can't take yourself too seriously. And sometimes a little bit of connection and a little bit of playfulness goes a long way when you're dealing with kids.
Oh, absolutely. I know my grandson, he's going to be 8 years old this Monday, and I laugh so much with him. And you've got to laugh. You've got to listen to them and laugh with them too.
Well, and we've just had a great time. Halloween has just passed, right? And what a great time for everybody to be a kid, right?
Yeah, and I saw this again on your Facebook page, and I thought, what a wonderful opportunity. You have said, Halloween makes sense afterwards sometimes, because sometimes kids are getting into it, they don't know what's going on.
Right. So I think a big part of it is that kids, especially our really young ones, they're not aware of what it's all about till after they've done it. And then once they've done it, things seem to make sense. So, stretch it out for a few weeks, stretch it out for a couple of months. Christmas, Halloween, all the celebrations that we do, once they've done it, then they get it and they want to play with it and explore it. It's hard to do that when you haven't done it yet. And you talked about Triple P, which is coming up. It's sort of our meat and potatoes parenting course. It's a lot to it. And that's one of the pieces that's in it, is making sure that you have an understanding of what's going on with the kids and setting up a positive environment for success with them. And I think that's a big part of what that program is all about.
And when you say positive too, that's so important. You have to look at yourself as a caregiver, as a parent, as an aunt, as a Gigi. I'm a grandmother. You've got to look at yourself at how you're presenting yourself to your child, and not having unrealistic expectations.
Oh, and that's one of the first parts we talk about with Triple P. It's a 5-week parenting course. This one's done via Zoom, of course, because we're still in the midst of our COVID pandemic here. But it's everything we do is free. So you just contact me at Crow Parent Education to get the Zoom information, and you join us. And the first evening that we meet for 2 hours, that's what we talk about: how to set up a positive environment, how to have realistic expectations, how to do things so that we're not getting into some of the troubles and behaviors that we often deal with kids. And that word positive, is all over the place because how we talk to kids, how we react to things, that's what they're going to imitate. So like you said, the more positive we can be, we can put a positive spin on everything. I mean, you can't always have what you want, but we meet those needs in there in a positive way. That's what kids imitate, and that's what we get back. So we want to do that in a way so that if kids give us the same type of attitude and behavior back, then it's acceptable, right? So that's that. We're always teaching, they're always learning.
That's right. That's right. And again, it's being positive. You can't tell your children, come on, get up, we got that, and then expect them to be nice.
Exactly. We always say, if there's something that comes up that is kind of annoying to you, stop, take a big breath, sit back and just reflect on your own behaviors and find out if you're actually inadvertently modeling that. And we talk about that in this course as well, about how we give directions, about how we interact with kids, because we're going to get that right back. And if you've got a kid that's up and in your face, take a look and see if that's how you're parenting. You may not be aware of it, right? But if, those are all learned behaviors, so they're learning them from somewhere.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, children start learning early too. They don't need to be using speech yet. They're learning. They're listening. They're watching.
Yeah, and we throw a few extra things in too, that Triple P doesn't always have there. We have some little offshoots where we talk about temperament And, temperament is how we're hardwired, how our brain and body work together. And it's how we're born and we come put together. So sometimes it's not always about what we're doing or what we've done that causes the behaviors that we're seeing. Sometimes it's just, some of those 9 temperament traits that you're born with. So we talk a little bit about that. We still have to manage them, right? We still want to manage them for the best outcome that we have. And we want to be aware of how we are and how our children are and find the best way to mesh that so that we have a positive outcome in there. And positive parenting, that word keeps popping up in our conversation. Positive parenting is about parenting in a way that keeps the relationship between the parent and child healthy and together. You're not always going to agree. Sometimes you have to lay down the law and set up firm boundaries. But for the most part, it's done in a way that relationship stays intact because it always comes back to the relationship.
And I mean, we just went through the pandemic and parents were spending so much more time with their children at home too.
Yeah, and actually we have another quick one night workshop coming up called Kids Have Stress Too. And that's coming up on, November the 16th. And it's all about that. It's all about, how kids are dealing with the stress and parents are dealing with the stress and how we can be helpful within their environment and teach them some skills to be a little more resilient. Because we're seeing a lot of kids that have been with parents and at their home for the full time of the pandemic that are now, 3.5 or turning 4. And, they haven't been with a lot of other people. So they're going through a lot of stressful times and, as they separate and head off to school. So that's one that will help with that as well.
I really like that workshop that you're doing too. I mean, kids do have stress too. And I mean, you can't look at a child and say, what, you're 5, you're 6. How do you have stress? You have stress.
Well, and that's a big part of all the workshops that we do. The way that we deal with stress is often the causing the behaviors that we're seeing that are difficult to deal with as well. And sometimes if we forget that it's about stress and that these kids need connection and that these kids need some support, you don't always need to fix it, but you need to be there and let them know that they're not doing this alone. Sometimes those behaviors just kind of melt away because what they really need, is connection and time together and knowing that they're not alone in all of this.
That's right too. And I mean, even how a child interprets stress, it happens in a two-way sometimes. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble, I did this wrong, now I've got to tell mom and dad, or mom and dad are going to find out. So there's a whole different element on top of the stress the child already has.
And sometimes it just evokes just really big emotions.
Yes.
Right. And they don't know what to do with that because in our culture, you're not supposed to be mad. You're not supposed to get angry. You're not supposed to not be able to cope. Right. And yet those big emotions come up and get in the way. They need co-regulation sometimes from a caring adult around them to help them pull things back together and cope again.
That's right. They absolutely, each child needs an understanding adult to be able to go to, and you hope that was going to be mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly. And the challenge is, I mean, we have 3 kids, of course, they're all grown now, but boy, do they have 3 different personalities. So they each are unique in the way that they're put together. And so they each need unique things to help learn to cope, and supporting them is very different for each one of them.
That's right. And so
what
works for one doesn't work for the other.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if, you practiced on the first one and it worked for the next 2, or if they each came with a manual that told us how to manage these things?
That does not happen. And even if there's a manual, there's this child standing in front of you not doing what the instructions say.
Well, and even for each child, as they go through a different developmental stage, as they get a little bit older and their brain is making more connections and they need to try different things out, things that worked before don't always work now because they need a little more independence, right? They need more choices and more power and control in their life. So, just when you think you have it nailed, then something else comes along.
Absolutely. Now, as the parent education coordinator, can you say what is probably the biggest problem parents have?
Oh gosh. That's a tough one. There's lots in there. I think it, the biggest thing for me is that parents don't trust their gut, right? This generation has so much information coming in from so many different directions that they forget that they know their children the best, right? And right from the time, like you said, we're dealing with them right from the time of infants on. If that infant is crying and every ounce of your being says, go pick them up and cuddle them, then that's probably what you should do. If that 2-year-old is being defiant and really, really wants to try jumping off that third step, as long as it's not going to hurt them, let them try it. If you feel that they need that independence, give them some independence. I think sometimes we fight so hard to do the right thing according to all the experts that we forget just to look at our child, try and see life through their eyes, and come in with a loving, caring hand. When it comes to safety, yeah, we jump in and sorry, kid, it's my way or the highway, because my first job is to keep you safe and sound. But after that, really trust yourself, right? And try and look at it from your child's perspective a little bit. And if it doesn't matter, give them the power to go ahead and take the lead.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes you got to remember back when you were a child, it was like, I would have liked a little bit more freedom to do this. I could do this, or, I want to try it, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to do something.
Well, it's funny when we ask adults, what are some of their favorite childhood memories? It's always about playing. It's often about being outside, and very rarely are there adults involved. And so I think that's a big message for us as well. Yes, we still need to supervise and we need to keep an eye on our kids, but sometimes we don't have to interfere quite so much. If we set up a positive environment for them where they're free to explore the world, then they'll go out and learn what they need to learn. And so many times, if things do go wrong, a positive connection and a caring hug and some soft murmured words are better than any consequence or punishment you could ever come up with.
I totally, totally agree with that. I think a hug fixes a lot more things than go to your room. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's like you say too, like most of your memories when you're a child, it's when you're out with other children too. And when you think of it, when you pick up somebody after school, they're going to tell you something that happened at recess more than in class.
Absolutely. And like I said, it always comes back to that relationship, that connection between people, or even between you and your environment, right? Lots of relationships in there. So we want to protect those and keep them healthy and keep them strong. When parents come with kids and they say, oh, my kid just won't listen to me, and it's just such a struggle, one of the first questions I often ask is, what do you do for fun with them? And they go, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, those are the times we build communication, we build trust, we learn to work together and listen to each other and get along. Go have some fun with them. And you may find that those times and those skills you build there, those foundational skills, transfer over to the tough times, when you have things that you have to, problem solve for.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when I look at your Facebook page, I don't know when you're not in front of your computer, Jane, because you've got workshops going on daily, Smith Falls, Perth, Carleton Place, Almont, and then you do these in the evenings as well, these Zoom presentations.
Yeah, so the things you're seeing right now, the Zoom stuff, my parent education is mostly done through Zoom, although I head out to the play groups that you're talking about. In these play groups, we have outdoor play groups and we have indoor play groups. A few more of them are moving inside as this colder weather is coming, but we always have some outdoor ones as well. Those are the times that parents can take their kids out, and I will wander out and chat with people there. And I'm also available just for individual chats, either by phone or for FaceTime or Zoom, because sometimes people have private things that they want to talk about, or very specific things that maybe aren't appropriate in a group setting. So those are available as well. And this is your tax dollars at work, right? So use us. Come out and take part in our programs. Do know that our play groups are, we have lots of COVID protocols in place. The inside ones at the moment are still set up as play pods. So you come into the room, there's only a few families. Each of you has your own specific area in the room. with your own toys so that you can still chat back and forth, but you can't commingle at the moment. So, but whatever family group you come with, you can certainly play together there. So those areas are set up for safety at the moment. Really crossing our fingers for March. That's, our numbers stay low here, and we can get back to having families and children play together more. So the outside ones, as long as you're keeping your 6 foot distance, there's hikes and there's music circles, there's baby times, there's all sorts of things going on.
Absolutely, and my daughter's older now, and I can remember 25 years ago, those play groups were a godsend to me as an adult, as a parent, as just wanting to talk to somebody else, and gave her the opportunity to play with other children as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
and we need those connections.
you do. And I remember when Bryson too, I took him to a few play groups, and they were holding them at some retirement homes as well too. And what a great opportunity for the people that live
those
there.
are a lot of fun.
Yes, they are. They are. It's a great opportunity for people that live there and for our children as well too. So you do the free Zoom workshop. We're talking about the Triple P, Positive Parenting Program. It goes on for 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's 5 Wednesday nights starting on November the 10th.
Okay, and how do people register for that, Jane?
So they can either email me at jpaul@crowlanark.com, or they can contact me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Crow Parent Education, because we are under the Crow umbrella, Children's Resources on Wheels, and Early On is the program, one of the programs we're running right now. So you can contact me at Crow Parent Education through Messenger, and I will send you the Zoom information. And all of our services are free.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and the one about Kids Have Stress Too, what night is that on?
That's Tuesday night, November the 16th. And it's just a one-night workshop. It's 2 hours, yeah.
Excellent.
The other way to get a hold of us, you can either call the office in Smith Falls at 613-283-0095 and talk to Jen, our wonderful office manager there. Or you can go to our main website as well, which is crowlanark.com. And that has all our information.
I love your Facebook page too.
Thanks for that. It's
You're
a lot
very
of fun,
inspirational.
That's very kind.
So I encourage people to take a look at your Facebook page too. It's funny, it's inspirational, and it brings you, it grounds you as a caregiver, as taking care of a child, for sure.
Well, thank you. And all our local areas. So if you type in your local area like Perth, and then Early On, you'll find that there's a Facebook page run by that facilitator too. And they have all sorts of activity ideas, and they'll keep you up to date on, where the play groups are and what's happening. The outside play groups, if it's a 60% chance of rain or more, they usually move inside to a Zoom. So just keep an eye on that. But like I said, type in your local area and Early On, and a Facebook page usually pops up, and they'll keep you up to date with all that information.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us again, Jane Paul, our Parent Education Coordinator with Early On. Thanks for joining us here on FYI.